Welcome to another edition of the Time Management Revolution podcast. I'm Helene Segura. Today we have with us Rene Sonneveld. He is a family business coach, mental performance strategist, and author of The Elephant in the Family Room. A former CEO, he now helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and legacy families perform under pressure without burning out. Through his coaching, Rene guides clients to build emotional clarity, decision-making stamina, and the mental space to lead with impact. His work is for those who want more than productivity and who are ready to grow from the inside out. Welcome, Rene.
Yes, welcome, Helene. Very nice to be here, and thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Let's start off with a very basic question to set the stage for everybody listening. What exactly is mental performance?
Right, it's a great question, and there's a lot of different people offering a mental performance coaching or mental performance work. In my case, it's a specialized form of coaching that helps the people that I work with to optimize their mindset, their focus, and also their emotional resilience to perform at their best, and especially to perform at their best when it matters, and that's under pressure.
And that can be tough. So we are definitely going to dive into that more. But before we do, can you explain the connection between mental performance and time management?
Sorry, mental performance and
Time management. How are they
time
connected?
management.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yes. So in my work, I often see that the executives I work with, their leaders, they're overwhelmed, and not by a lack of structure. I mean, they're very structured people, but by emotional tensions. And so the calendar is their calendar is full, their org chart is clean, but very often the decisions they get delayed, and people disengage, and somehow kind of energy lacks out of the form of unresolved issues. And I was fortunate through a course that I did to work with the psychologist of the Navy SEALs, and something that he said that stuck with me. And he said that elite performers, they don't just manage time, they create it. And when you talk about creating time, that's kind of this wonderful idea of how can you create time? There's 24 hours in a day, right? How can you create time? And basically, what he said is they developed the capability to clear the internal noise so they can be fully present. And that set me on a complete new direction, and that's the essence of my work. I help leaders create time by making space for the conversations and the dynamics that usually get ignored. And once those are addressed, everything else flows automatically and more cleanly.
Oh, I love that. This is going to be such a great conversation. Let's jump into the mental performance. How does mental performance coaching help leaders and entrepreneurs stay focused, grounded, and resilient in these high pressure environments that you're talking about? You know, losing time to the different pressures. How does that mental performance coaching help them, especially when time and energy seem to be stretched so thin?
Yeah. And so I like to introduce you to a formula, which is performance equals talent and development minus interference. So performance is talent, right? You have to be talented. You have to develop yourself, university, school, skills, training for sports people. Minus, and this is the big distractor, is interference. And interference basically is everything that happens to you in your system, that little voice that talks to you, that keeps your mind from being in the game, right? And being in the game, you can take that for sports people, but the same thing happens for executives, whatever. You go to work, you had a big fight with your partner. right? Interference. Um, you're in the middle of a deal and you get a message from the bank, we need to have your financial statements. If not, whatever, credits are withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
Interference. So what this is really about, being an effective performer and this mental performance, it's focusing on attention control. So managing distractions and sustaining concentrations in chaotic or high-stake environments. Sports competition or corporate life, right? It's about having confidence and self-belief, right? And how do you do that? It's kind of creating great stories about yourself, stories in which you believe. Not only I can do it, but stories that from the past, stories for the future, where stories that where results fluctuate, especially when the pressure mounts. Then it's about you had some big setbacks, so it's about resilience and recovery, right? Bouncing back. It's about stress and anxiety regulation, right? What are some tools that you can use? Mindfulness to regulate your nervous system activation, this famous fight and flight syndrome, your limbic system. How can you literally sabotage your system that will sabotage you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I work a lot with mental preparation and visualization to do that, and obviously in coaching it's about goal setting and motivation, kind of aligning those internal drivers with external goals. So it's a whole bunch.
It sounds like it, but what I hope people are fascinated by is that you haven't mentioned calendars and task apps, and some of those tactical tools can be used because, really, in order to use those effectively, you need to have the kind of mental training that you are referring to. That
Yes,
being a
exactly.
lot more strategic. So it's so important. And a little later in this little conversation we're having, I would love to ask you for a specific tip that we can use in a chaotic situation about how to calm down to make that better mental decision. But first, you have brought up sports, athletics, teams. So I'd like to ask you a question related to that. If somebody is in the corporate world or in a family business, they are listening to this and they know nothing about sports. Well, what can they learn from some of those elite sports teams about trust, communication, execution under pressure?
Yeah, it's wonderful, and that's why I love to be in the sports world, because so much of what happens in sports we can bring that back to corporate life, to teams, or when you think about the family system, you can also see that as a team, right?
Mhm.
And the other way around, there's so much that we can bring from corporate life into sports teams as well. But let's go from sports teams to family systems and to corporate teams. And one of the first things is that I do when I start working with a sports team is to create a sense of belonging. And this is fundamental because we need to feel that we belong. We need to feel that we are trusted by the others in the team, because only that will allow us to perform at our best. The moment we do not feel that we belong, the moment we do not feel the trust from the trainers, from the teammates, and so on, it's really hard to perform at your best. And the same holds true for families. And I say families, well, we're family, we trust each other. Well, it isn't really true. Very often it starts with trust, but then little saboteurs, they start creeping in, and trust can easily be broken as well. So the thing that I take most from sports is this sense of belonging. Family system, do we belong? Third, fourth generation, four, five branches of families, right? Do we still have this sense of belonging? And if not, what stops us from feeling belonging to this group that's called a family?
Mhm. Very interesting. And what about the reverse? What can sports teams learn about the corporate world and business families that would help them?
Yeah, uh, great question as well. Um, well, with families, um, there, and that's an interesting distinction, and that's why family businesses are in general the most successful businesses in corporate life compared to, you know, large stock held corporations, is that decision times are short. In families, literally
Mhm.
taken around the dinner table, right?
Mhm.
There's much less red tape. I mean, there's setbacks to it, well, but there's much less red tape, and there's this inherent sense of trust in successful family businesses. So this we can bring also to sports. You know, quick decisions, trusting in the decisions of others, trusting in the strategy set out by the patriarch, set out by the team coach, right? Execute on what was decided by the patriarch, because there's by the team coach patriarch. I make that bridge, uh, um, and um, now I start stuttering, um, and so trust in that and execute on that.
Okay. And just for anybody listening, they didn't hear our conversation before we started the official podcast. And I had shared with Rene that when I get super excited, I stutter. So that's why I had the giggle after he said, now I'm stuttering, because I told him that's what I do when I get excited. So we have that in common too. Uh, what
Thank you.
about a specific mental strategy that we can use? Let's say that um, I'm not in a supervisory role. I'm not yet in leadership, and I have all of these demands and requests coming at me. And each one of these people thinks that their demand or request is the most important, but I don't have enough time in the day to figure it out. Before I can even start figuring out how do I get myself to calm down to be able to make that better decision.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and I like to go back what I mentioned before about creating time,
Mhm.
which is a mindset I picked up from the Navy SEAL community, and it's what they do in high pressure and overbooked days. These guys, they're always busy, and if they're not
Mhm.
busy, then they'll be sure to be made busy. Their life is basically to make discomfort being the new normal for them. And so it's really about reducing frictions and clearing about what doesn't belong. So for leaders I work with, and one of the things that very often they procrastinate on, it's not about answering emails or making decisions, but it's very much what they procrastinate about. Young leaders or senior leaders, it's about facing conversations that they're avoiding, about naming something which is uncomfortable to them. And when you do that, you stop kind of mental looping because it's there. Even though you try to not acknowledge it, you try to push it away, it is there. So by confronting the uncomfortable, you start making space psychologically, emotionally, and actually practically. So it's not about control, it's about about creating clarity about what are kind of my internal blockages. And very often when we think about that and we dig deeply, we find that are those conversations that we are avoiding and, and,
Mhm.
and bring up those things that are uncomfortable for us. So what we do in this procrastination and being ineffective is we do the things that are comfortable or they're easy. Answering emails. I had a great day. Answered 50 emails. I had a great day. I went to the gym and I pumped irons for 1 hour, right? But what we do is we are avoiding what's really hard, and that's those psychologically uncomfortable conversations because they are triggering our survival systems. It's very similar to whatever our ancestors that were hunting in the forest and a lion came to them 5,000 years ago. They went in this flight or fight state, or freeze even stage, which is triggered by this very old part of our brain, the ancient brain, the limbic system, and the psychological threats that we feel. They trigger exactly the same. They put us in survival mode, and this makes us ineffective.
Wow. And when we are in that ineffective psychological mode, in that moment, is there something we can say to ourselves or something that we can do to snap us out of it and remind us that we need to shift our perspective or our thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. There are techniques, there are great techniques. Some of them are called positive intelligence techniques or mindfulness techniques. And basically what we need to do is to distract our survival instinct very shortly. And I don't want to get very technical on this, but basically what it does, our survival instinct is a limbic system, and it's just above the spine in the back of our brain. Some will call this the reptile part of and basically it made us as humans survive. It's a survival system, right? And so what it does when it activates, it sucks a lot of blood, literally, out of your brain into this survival system, and then it activates your hormonal system, and you get this, you feel activated, and your heartbeat goes up and so on. And what it does, it takes away the blood from your neocortex, literally, that is the part that makes us smart, and it goes to the back of the brain. So maybe it happens to you when you came out of a meeting and you were somehow blocked, and 15 minutes after the meeting you said, oh gosh, I wish I had said this or that, or I wish I had reacted differently. Well, it was because you had a psychological threat. You were not in your best state. You were either fighting, or you were fleeing, or you were freezing up. You had a block, and so the blood went out of your smart part to your survival part, literally. And now, after this meeting, it comes back and you start, let's say, having 100% of your faculties again. And so what we need to do, if we feel this is happening, and I do this with sports people and, penalty kicks, really important moments in the match point, tennis, US Open, that last hole, you're 15 under and the guy behind you is 14 under, and you have to make that 6-foot putt and so on. So it is about sabotaging your survival instinct, bringing the blood back, and you do this by breathing. One of the most powerful ways is deep breathing and bringing yourself back, not denying that this is a high tension moment. It is. I mean, it would be stupid to deny that, right? I mean, there's a lot at stake of that last putt, or that final serve, or whatever it is, or that decision. There's a lot at stake. But by breathing, bringing yourself back, getting yourself grounded, and just kind of bring you back to the time that you have done this 10,000 times over. You have been there. You have done this. You have taken those decisions. You have taken those actions, and you can. But you cannot just by saying, I can. You need also to make your brain work towards this I can, and bring you back to that moment of competence. I hope I was somehow clear in this explanation.
Oh, yes, you were, but I have an add-on question, and that would be, I hear the term deep breathing quite often, but when you are in front of people, or if you are an athlete, you are in front of 10,000, 100,000 people. If you go into what some people might call deep breathing, it might be a little scary, especially in a corporate environment. So what kind of deep breathing could we do in a board meeting, in a team meeting, that wouldn't frighten people?
Yes, right. Absolutely. There's the deep breathing talk about, it's not kind of hyperventilation. It is really, and it's not only about the breathing, it's bringing your attention to breathe. Breathing is our, together with heartbeat, it's the most primitive part of us as human beings. It is even before the survival instinct, because without breathing and heartbeat, we wouldn't even live, right? So by breathing deeply and putting your conscious into the breath, and you can literally do it without anybody seeing. You breathe in and you feel this kind of this noise coming in. It's almost like some call it the dragon breath or the ocean breath.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the sea coming in, you hear the sea coming in, and you breathe out and you hear the sea coming out. And you do that and you bring your attention while paying attention to whatever happens in the boardroom or in the sports field, just 5 seconds. And it completely calms you down because you distract that survival part to an even more primitive part of you, and which is breathing. And you bring your conscious to the breath and not to the survival part. Another practice that you can do, and I learned this in positive intelligence, is kind of putting your focus on your fingers. So, for example, Helene, when I talk to you now, at this very moment, when I rub my fingers together, and really I can feel like the digital parts of my fingers, of the skin, I rub this together. All my conscious at this moment is here in my fingers. And even though I'm talking, it is there. And it's a wonderful way also of bringing my consciousness into this sensation. And I can have my fingers below the table. Nobody will see it, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is not something you do the first time in the board meeting. It won't help. This is something you need to practice.
Okay.
So I recommend my clients to practice this 3, 4, 5 times a day, breathing,
Mm-hmm.
bringing your intention to your breath. 5
Mm-hmm.
seconds, not more, 10 seconds. Do
Okay.
30 seconds of finger wrapping and bring your attention to these, to your thumb and your index finger.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have it available when you feel, oh, this is going to be hard. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. My boss, I saw him, his face, he didn't look happy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be prepared, right? Let's be prepared.
Okay. I need to do this when I'm driving too. So
You need to
I
have
can,
both hands on your steering wheel, right?
well, I'll do it with one and I'll do the breathing while I'm driving.
Yes.
Oh goodness. Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you. Because I love those kinds of tips because we're able to easily do that. It's not like we have to go out and purchase something. We can just breathe and we can work on our fingertip exercises. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I would like to shift gears just a bit, but it's still related. And this is a question related to project management.
Mm.
You are obviously a very busy person, and yet you had time to write a book. So, how did you create the time to write a book if that's not something you were doing before and were used to any kind of schedule?
Yeah. And so what I discovered, what works for me is I have a pretty big, busy coaching practice, and I'm teaching and I'm doing lots of stuff. And by the way, I'm a father of 5 kids that have lots of sports activities and so on. I'm not a soccer dad, but I'm a rugby dad. I have kids playing rugby, but my daughter, she plays hockey, field hockey, and whatever. So I've a, like many of us, I have a busy family life, I have a busy professional life, and so on. And so while I was writing the book, and I started to take that more serious, like it was first was kind of more a autobiography that I wrote for myself, just having fun. But then I started working with a book coach, and it became all more serious. And I started working with deliverables and so on. I try to squeeze those moments of writing in between my coaching sessions and my parental obligation. So I put in my agenda 1 hour writing between whatever, 10 and 11, and then another hour writing between 4 and 5. It never worked. Scheduling that 1 hour never worked because before I started writing, I was procrastinating. I was answering emails and whatever, doing some payments maybe. And so then I got into the mood after half an hour, but then my time was up because I had my next session or my next meeting. So what I start to do is to curve out blocks of 4 hours. And that really helped me to get into the drive, to get into the mood, to get into the to really get done what I needed to do, instead of trying to do this, writing a paragraph in 15 minutes. And that helped me tremendously. And the progress I made by reserving larger blocks of time, that was kind of a breakthrough thinking for me. And actually, I now also use it with my coaches, with leaders that need to think about management or about strategies. Very often they take their strategy time in between two management meetings. It's not going to work. There's too much distraction, there's too much noise. You really have to give yourself the time to block out the morning. This is the morning, phones off, nobody in. I need to think about strategy. And maybe of the 4 hours, they won't think 4 hours of strategy, but it will be 3 hours, but they get work done. And just squeezing it in as another task, it just doesn't work. There's too much noise before we can calm down our brain and really get into the mood of what we need to do. So that for me was super important. And then it's also kind of, if you are passionate about something, you're really motivated, it becomes easier to wake up at 5 on Sunday morning and get 4 hours of work done before the family wakes up and you start preparing breakfast. So obviously, you have to gain that time from and give up some other stuff. It doesn't come for free. There's yeah.
And what about on a daily basis? Do you have a time management practice that you use to help manage all of your different responsibilities, personal and professional?
Yeah. So and I wanted to come back to this because you spoke about applications and time management applications there are, and they're wonderful, they're great. And if I would not have my iCalendar or my MacBook, I would be really disorganized, and it helps me to organize myself. But these are, in the end, technical tools for a technical problem that somebody says, hey, I have a problem with time management. What can I do? Oh, buy an app, right? It's like saying, hey, I want to lose weight. What can I do? Well, don't eat, buy a book, read about diets and whatever. And very often what we do in life is we throw technical solutions to technical problems, but they don't really help people. Why? Because there are deeper adaptive challenges that people are dealing with. Because if somebody wants to take a diet, for example, or somebody has problems with his time management, very often it's not because they don't know how an agenda works. They know we're working with smart people, right? They know that. And they can watch a YouTube or read a book about time management. But it's because there are deeper things that distract them, anxieties. That's why I eat too much, right? That's why I can't stop from going to the fridge at 10 o'clock in the evening, watching Netflix and taking a pot of ice cream, because I have to deal with other things that are underlying that. And the same thing is with working and dealing with time management. It is very often not about can I maintain an agenda or not, because they can. But what happens really deeper within us that stops us from overspending time on certain issues, starting things too late, pushing them away. I won't do it today, I will do it tomorrow. Cut and past, next day, my agenda, and so on. And so what are we avoiding really, right? And that's a really important question when you prepare for your schedule, is kind of what are we avoiding and why are we avoiding things? And that's the deeper question that we need to resolve in order to really be efficient with our time management.
Excellent. All of your advice has been excellent, so I really do appreciate that. And hopefully everybody listening will appreciate that too, and they'll want to get in touch with you. So can you please tell us how to find you, website, LinkedIn, and also how to get more information about your book, The Elephant in the Family Room?
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. It's very easy. It's rene.sonneveld or renesonneveld.com. That's my website. And you can reach me through that, or send me an email, rene.sonneveld@gmail.com. Also very easy, or find me under my name at LinkedIn. The book is available on Amazon.com, on Barnes and Nobles, on the usual channels. So pretty straightforward. And by the way, I love when people check in with me. I always create time to answer people. I love to engage. There's a lot of pro bono work in this respect that I do because I'm just
Mhm,
curious,
mhm,
what's happening with other people and how they see things, and I learn so much from others as well. And
mhm.
that's one of the things I love in coaching is I love I learn so much from my clients. So yeah, but
Yes.
that's the way how you can get into touch with me.
Fantastic. And I know that some people will not necessarily watch this, they'll be listening. So I'll go ahead and spell out your name, ReneSonneveld.com. So they can search for you and they can go to your website. And Rene Sonneveld, thank you so much for being here today.
Helene, it was a pleasure, and again, I feel humbled to be part of your podcast. I listen to many of your podcasts. They are you have great people that you invite, and I'm humbled to be part of that crowd now. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.